Let's do this. Hello guys, and welcome to, I think, my first ever PvE build, unbelievably. This is a build designed for the Maelstrom arena particularly, and the reason this build is so good is it is absolutely beginner friendly. You cannot do anything wrong. So if you are someone who struggles with Maelstrom, wants to get a good score in Maelstrom as a pro, or just generally wants to finish Maelstrom for the first time, this build is going to help you so much, because I am not a good Maelstrom runner, and I think the highest score I got is just a little under 570k with this build. I literally could never get over 500k before, so this build really is good. There you go, 569k is seriously good for a sorcerer. It is a huge difference. So I'm going to explain things for you here. First thing we're going to do is, why is this build so good? The reason this build is good is it is purely pet based. And because it is pet based, you are losing a lot of the aggro on you. You are losing a huge amount of aggro. Okay, so basically me standing here means the Twilight and the Scamper will take some of the focus from the mobs if you don't kill things fast. And that helps you a lot. And at the same time, you still have skills that can kill things over time at a portal spawn to save you a lot of effort. So the sets we are using, and this is a very generic setup. You may have seen this in other videos. I can shout out 100 people here. It is a typical build, okay? It is a typical build. But we are using 2 Alambris, both Divines, Magicka Enchant, medium and heavy for the 5/1/1. 5 Necro, all Divines, and 3 Moondancer, all Divines. Now, this is spread across my jewelry and here. I guess the best way to do this would be to have a Necro ring there and a third piece of Moondancer on the armor, because then you can get gold rings, which give you a tiny bit more stats on the Necro, like 4 or 5 Magicka a piece. Basically, we're just maximizing our Divines, and we're getting the minor Slayer through that. We're stacking into high max Magicka, because that is what your pets steal from. On our staff, we are then using the Maelstrom Lightning Staff and the Master Fire Staff. Now, you could probably get better damage running the Maelstrom Fire Staff there, and maybe even the Master Lightning Staff in exchange on the back bar. I'm not 100% sure there. I'm simply using this because of what I have. But either of those are reasonable options. They're both giving you good stats. I would suggest at least 1 Maelstrom path though, because it is going to help you a lot when you have your path uptime on the bosses. So our food. For the food I'm actually using, remember again, this is beginner friendly. This is not about getting the max score ever. We're using Witch Mother's Potent Brew. This gives us max health, max Magicka, and recovery, which a lot of you people like me, as PvPers, might find your recovery running a bit short. This helps resolve that problem. You have the recovery to deal with it, and it will help you out a ton. Potion, we're using Spell Power Pots. You need a lot of these. You need this up 100% of the time. You do not have a spell damage buff on your bar, so you have to run this. Okay, skills. We are using Twilight and the Scamp on both bars. So Twilight is a nice little dot. It gives you a heal if you do have problems with your shield at any point, so shield up before you heal. But more importantly, it's just taking the aggro. That is why it is there. It is valuable for this build, I do think, for Maelstrom in general. I think it saves me a lot of panic time. And as a weaker person in Maelstrom, it is a huge difference. Now, maybe as a stronger person, you could run a build similar to Outcast. I don't know. Sure, you could do that. But I feel that for a weaker runner like myself, this is so valuable to have because it takes a lot of the aggro away. Second one is the Scamp. Now, the Twilight is also going to help heal the Scamp. That's another great value we have from him. But what this one does is a pulse that does a huge damage over time. Now, I've been experiencing Petsork in PvP for quite a while, and it is brutal. The damage from this is huge in PvE buffed up. So you want to keep that pulse up 100% of the time. Every 8 seconds, recast that. Do not let that drop, because it is your biggest damage output by a mile. And another reason why that is so useful is it is an AoE. So that means that when you're getting swarmed by mods, because your DPS sucks, like me in a normal build, though this build you'll struggle to have bad DPS by the way, the pet will kill them all at the same time, and it's slowing the aggro down on you, making life easier. Last skills, we are using Hardened Ward as a damage shield. I'm using Frag and Crystal Crushing Shock. Now this is the interrupt morph, you will notice that. I haven't tried the other morph in PvE. I use this because I'm a PvP player primarily, but I do actually really like this. It is very useful against some of the mobs, sorry. The only thing I would suggest is be careful using that against the Argonian. On the Argonian boss, if you interrupt, you're fucked. So don't interrupt it. Just use a heavy attack on your Lightning Staff. Keep your Scamp up, keep your Curse up, and after it's done the Scream phase, you can go back to killing if you know how the Maelstrom works. I finally use Overload there. That's there as more of an extra storage pool, and if I'm super low on Magicka, I can use it to get a tiny bit back. The skill on there that's most important, I mean the rest of it is just double barred stuff, is the number 4, which is Dark Conversion. That gives us Magicka back for stamina. After a wave, I will normally pop onto this bar, cast that, and restock on magical with the stamina, because the stamina, not really any use here. On the back bar, we're then using the Blockade of Storms. Great dot, place it on the paths, place it on the bosses, place it on the spawns, all of that. Really, really handy. It's very nice. We're then using Daedric Prey Morph of this. So this increases our pet damage by 40%. That is an enormous damage buff on a boss. Cast it, get that pulsing. As well as being a decent damaging ability. Again, Twilight and Scamp are there. Distraught as the ulti. I actually have the Eye Morph. I don't really know. Maybe the Eye Morph could even be better here, to be honest with you, because a lot of things do move around a bit. I don't know. I guess the other morph probably is better, but I'm a PvPer. I don't want to respec that. So either morph for that would work. And then last but not least, I am using Harness. Now, this is interchangeable if you're a better player than me. I would suggest, if you're not as good at running Maelstrom, such as myself, to run a Storm Calling ability called Liquid Lightning as another dot for the portals. But I personally like the second shield because I think it helps my survivability a lot. Last but not least, champion points. Now, this is not necessarily min-max, but it does the job fine. I have 100 in Magician. 100 into Arcanist for max recovery. In the blue tree, I have 95 in Elemental Expert, 65 in Elfborn for crits, 10 in Spell Erosion for penetration, 30 in Thaumaturge for the dots. I don't really know why that's there, actually. I think the pets and the lightning, I don't know. I think you could change that out, but fuck it. I don't really care enough about that. Red tree, we are then stacking a tiny bit into dots just for the injection, poison, dot, and that sort of stuff. But mostly we are going into Elemental Expert and Hardy. So champion points, not necessarily completely min-maxed. I don't really care enough for that. But I'm not going to lie, guys. If you are really struggling with Maelstrom, this is such a good build to do it. I have to farm Maelstrom 2 out and Sharpened, unfortunately, for my Stamblade build, which will be coming out soon. So stay tuned for that. It is a huge one. I will get there. Just the final bit to show you the stats and the Mundas. We are using the Thief for our Mundas to increase our crit chance. And we are using some huge stats. With the pets up, 46.5k Magicka, 16k health. That's plenty with shields, and 10k stamina to convert. 1.5k recovery, that's nice. That's a nice bit of extra. You could even, I guess, go for a higher vamp stage. I don't know if that increases. I don't think it does. I like staying in stage 2, though, for the fire phase. So vamp does help. And we're sitting on 2k spell damage, 45k crit. So really nice stats, I think, for a PvE build. I think it does great. And yeah, if you are struggling with Maelstrom, this is the build to go for. It is so useful. So I hope you have enjoyed this build. I hope you find it useful. And best of luck to you in the other world.